That movie? Why he hasn't gotten an Oscar yet, I have no idea. Okay, let me set up my timer over here.
All right, so I'm Esteban Rivera from Xavier High School.
My name's Kalim from the Academy of Finance and Enterprise.
I'm Erina, Vela, and I go to the Young Leadership School of Astoria.
I'm Bintou, Sylla. I go to Rivera and go for night and day high school.
So, how many of you have been to a museum? And now, how many of you have been bored at the museum? Or found that the museum was too crowded and that you couldn't go to the exhibits in time? And you spent way too much time just looking at one dinosaur and you wanted to go to, let's say, the entire museum. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen Night in the Museum. Isn't that cool that, like, if you could go to the museum and dinosaurs would be walking around, you could see, like, Genghis Khan and Pocahontas and Theodore Roosevelt and say, hey, what's up? That would be great, right? What would also be great is that if you could actually go to the museum and enjoy it for what it is. With our project, we could give you an alternate experience that will be just as good as the real thing.
Basically, the concept is we wanted to create a virtual reality of the American Museum of Natural History to create an immersive and personal experience that you can have with your family or with your friends. This is a video of what the museum would look like using the technology that Esteban is going to delve into in the future. We wanted to create a model of what the virtual reality would look like. So there are multiple fossils and dinosaurs that you can go around, and it's very interactive and immersive. For the application, so this is a product that basically all consumers can use, and we've broken it down into 3 categories that are all kind of interconnected. The first being, most of us here live in the tri-state area, more specifically in New York City, and we wanted to create a product for people that may not be ever able to access the museum, or because we know its popularity, may not be able to even get in because of the lines. So we wanted to create a universal product for everyone. Those who live out of state, out of country, overseas, can use this product at their own time for anyone and anywhere. Because we wanted to target a museum, there's always that educational aspect that comes along with it, and the commercial aspect. So we wanted a fun, personal environment that students can use even if they learn best with visuals or outside the traditional classroom environment.
So, photogrammetry seems like a long word, seems like a really complicated process. It's actually pretty simple. How many of you have a smartphone camera? Most of you. So, all of you would be able to do photogrammetry if you wanted to. It's essentially just taking a lot of different pictures from small changes in angles. So, if you had an object, you would just like slowly go around it, kind of like a panorama, and take pictures from all these angles, and you map out a 3D point cloud, which essentially is a bunch of pixels in midair that can be used to be combined into what's called a 3D mesh, which allows you to make a view of an object. And video error. So when you have your at our demo table, you can see our process. But what we used was a software called Reality Capture, which, using all the pictures we've taken, which are at around 60 degrees, it's 60% the same as the last picture. You have about 150, 200 pictures per model, and you can make an actual object from all your pictures. And it stitches them together, uses a lot of computer processing power, which is one of our major issues. But it stitches all these pictures together, makes your 3D model, and you can add that into something called Unity, which is a game engine that you can use in virtual reality and walk around and fully experience a model. The other software that we have up there called Cloud Compare, it takes the point cloud, which is all the pixels in midair, and is able to reduce them and kind of clean it up. because when you have a raw file from reality capture, you have a lot of components. You might have just wanted to take a picture, get a model of the Triceratops, but it could get the whole room, and you really don't want to have to deal with all of those points. But if you use reality capture, you can cut out everything that you don't need. You have your littles, you have a little environment, and you have exactly the fossil that you want. And when you do that, you can have your tiny fossil with the full experience, and it's much cleaner, much easier to use in Unity, and can be reduced. There's a video about that, but let's see that later. Right, next one. Back, there you go. So these are all models. I'm going to go from top to bottom, right to left, right. So Triceratops was taken about 200 pictures in kind of like a horseshoe pattern going around the model. And as you can see, very high detail, very realistic for a computer program, which was just taken with a standard camera. The plesiosaur, which is the bottom left, is an amphibious dinosaur. We took it around, even though it was in a glass case, we were still able to get it without any glare. We had a high detail model, and T-Rex and Allosaurus. That was one of the most complicated, most difficult ones to process. But that was about 250 pictures. And the ones that aren't up here, in total we took about 5,000 pictures in order to get a lot of different models into our Google Drive.
These are two softwares that I personally work really closely with. Rhino being the software on the left is what most engineers and architects use to visualize the environment that they're trying to make. It offered a good 2D perspective of the layout, so I placed each exhibit according to where it was in the actual museum. And then that translated to Unity, which is the photo on the right, and that created the 2D visualization into a 3D one. So that was the software that we used to basically make the virtual reality itself. And the bottom two photos are of something called the Google Cardboard, which is basically what you place your phone in to show you what Rhino and Unity created in your environment. The photo in the background is just an example of a placeholder of what we wanted our virtual reality to look like.
So here's our project timeline for weeks. For the first couple of weeks, we were kind of discussing what exactly we wanted to do. Initially, we wanted this to be an app for mostly disabled students and for emotionally disabled students that wouldn't be able to be in like a big space, a big crowded museum. So we wanted like a virtual experience for them to actually be able to do it on their own. However, when we did a small group of our presentation, we found a lot of people really wanted to have the museum on their own time. So we decided that we were going to make an iPhone app that could be used by everyone, whoever has their own demonstration. So weeks 4 to 7, we were taking a lot of our pictures, our 5,000 of them, putting them into reality capture, spending a lot of hours just like letting it run, hoping it doesn't crash. And 8 to 10, Unity, Blender, Rhino, making our virtual reality environment. And we applied it on the phone, and now we're here today.
Throughout these weeks, we had created a 3D model of the whole first floor of the museum. And most of it's dinosaurs. For our future goals, we will add an audio feedback using a voiceover software that will help the user know each dinosaur's name and origins. We were considering to add more 3D model of the remaining dinosaurs we didn't get the chance to process. And also, we are considering integrating a donation option in the VR program so that people who experience the museum can donate to the museum, just like the admission. And finally, we want to overlay skin onto the fossils and animate them so that we can see how what the dinosaurs look like and how they moved and act millions of years ago. Animating them will also bring the museum to life. And we'll also bring the museum to life and make it more exciting for some people, especially for kids, because seeing bones only can be a little bit boring. For every problem, there are some challenges, and the challenges we faced was the computing power, because it takes a lot of time for Rhino and reality capture and meshes to upload the pictures. For reality capture, like it can take more than an hour to process only one, to get a 3D model of only one dinosaur, and that's really annoying.
It actually took 6 in order to get the Triceratops. That was pain. And also the other big problem was our photos, because it needs a really, really specific format in order to get your pictures. So we took pictures, we took about 1,000 in one day, and we put them into the program. It didn't want an iPhone 8. So we had to like go into the code and like redo the software just so that it would allow us. And we would reject them if it was a difference in light, if it was a difference in glare. Glare was a really big enemy. And so if there was even something slightly off that looked like it could work, it might reject. So getting the right type of pictures was a major problem.
For what we learned, most of the skills that we acquired were technical, but we also have a non-technical skill, which is teamwork. We all have strengths and weaknesses that were improved on during the semester, and I think the collaborative effort to make this project come to life is one that really improved our teamwork skills. Just a quick run through of the software skills that we acquired. Reality capture, took the photos, made it into a 3D mesh. Rhino made the environment for it, and Unity brought reality capture and the Rhino environment into one to create the actual virtual reality. Mesh Mixer was a cleanup of the dinosaur, so there was a lot of unwanted, undesired materials that we wanted to basically clean up to make the virtual reality better.
And Mesh Mixer, one of our 3D models, as I said, point clouds, it kind of makes it really difficult to use. So one of our models had 11 million triangles in it, which normally on 3D models you have about like 10,000, 20,000. 3D scans get insanely detailed that can crash a lot of programs. So Mesh Mixer allowed us to cut that down to 20,000 and get still a high detail model. Thank you.
Questions? Comments?
I have a couple comments. I thought that it was really well presented, and I thought that the technical explanation was really good, and explaining the tools that you use. My one thing is, it seems like you talked about the computing power issues, and I was wondering if you had like a plan for implementing this project on a larger scale, because it seems like it would take a lot of time to do this for multiple museums and all these exhibits.
So yeah, essentially the biggest problem for us was the optimization, because when we have these 11 million triangular mesh files, it's the process of cutting it down, it kind of like, we need to have a high-end computer so that we can break it down for something that a phone could easily use. We have a demo in the back for a high-end for a pretty well detailed model, but we were able to cut it down to about 200,000 triangular mesh. But the main thing is because we want to extend it on a bigger scale, we just need to be able to have the time and the resources in order to just break it down. And for iPhone development, it's really just a question of like having a high enough power Mac in order to just use it on iPhone, Android, getting the right tools. It's just finding the right tools on the right machines in order to get something well used.
Another small thing that we could do is we could limit the amount of photos we take at the museum. So we learned that we just need to cover all 360 degrees of the object. We could take less pictures that still encompass the total object, so to like cut down and make it more efficient to process images.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just want to know what type of computers did you use?
We use my computer at home. We used my Apple iMac for coding, for coding the actual iPhone program into Xcode and then using it onto my phone so it could go onto Google Cardboard. We use some of the Cooper Union computers. They were mid to high range computers that could run like very intensive programs, but it's just the fact, just finding we need enough power in order to break them down for a good computer to use efficiently. So we were able to run the programs even though it was kind of slow. It's just, it was difficult, just time consuming, just breaking it down.
I'd like to comment on how cool it was that you guys kind of ran through the technical difficulties. Give the presentation with the video stuff is terrifying, and I thought that was so cool. I thought your project has tremendous applicability to the human learning mind. Any virtual medical student wants to learn about how a liver works, goes into a virtual medical center, and you virtually look at a liver in 3D, and then you see how it functions. So you basically, whether it's a patient who wants to learn about a disease they have, or whether it's a doctor or a student who wants to learn about a disease process, tremendous applicability. You've taken several different apps and put it together. Good job.
Questions?
Oh, I was curious if you guys were to continue developing this or redesign this, what would you change or extend?
Well, we want to continue developing it. We would allow it to be used on both Android and iOS phones because we want it to be like widely used. We're going to need to have a better. We need a higher end PC in order to just kind of like break stuff down for it to be easily accessed in Unity, and we're possibly going to need to either break it up into different apps for different exhibits, or make it so that it only loads certain assets so that you're not kind of crashing your phone just trying to see a museum. So we're going to just try and just further optimization, getting the right textures, getting something that looks detailed enough, but not insanely detailed that will kind of break the phone.
And also just like generally extending it. So right now we have one of the rooms on the 4th floor. In the future we want either the entire 4th floor or the whole museum if that can be possible.
And maybe add a microcontroller, so the user can use it to control a character that can freely roam around.
Yeah, we
in
wanted
the environment.
we wanted so that people could walk around. So we tried making our own controller, but we think that using third-party controllers might be a better alternative, just so that people could easily walk around and kind of fully experience it. And we also might want to have donations to the museum because if we're using the Museum of Natural History, if it's not a paid app, we want it so that if you use the app, you could have a quick payment to the museum just to show to keep it going because it's part of the museum and it's part of their exhibit, so it'll help them out.
Moreover, since physical space isn't a limitation in virtual reality, we would like to have